Hello viewers. In this video, we'll review the beginnings of the World Wide Web. We'll look at the very first web browser by Sir Tim Berners Lee and the first web server created at the CERN in 1992. We will do this on a NextStation Mono to get as close to the original hardware that was used, which was a Next Cube, and we'll install both the browser and server binaries from more than 30 years ago. I'll add the links below the video. Let's get started. Here's some more background while the machine starts up. Before coming to CERN, Tim worked on, among other things, document production and text processing. He developed his first hypertext system, Enquire, in 1980 for his own use. With a background in text processing, real-time software and communications, Tim decided that high-energy physics needed a networked hypertext system, and CERN was an ideal site for the development of wide-area hypertext ideas. Tim started the World Wide Web project at CERN in 1989. He wrote the browser application on the Next computer along with most of the communication software. I downloaded the World Wide Web app to a network drive accessible to the Next, so let's first copy it to the local drive and then install it. We're going with the 0.16 version here, because that is the most complete one. The others are most non-functional beta versions. I'll use the terminal app to decompress the tar.z archive, which contains the browser. I'm speeding this up a bit. There's nothing much to do after decompressing the archive. The folder will turn into an app automatically based on its contents. The browser comes with an overview file that is a starting point for further exploring the web. However, none of the external links work due to bad request errors. The reason is that the HTTP protocol level requested by the browser is not supported by modern servers anymore. Ironically, this also affects the copy of the first website that is still hosted at info.cern.ch to this day. To use the browser, we need to install the CERN HTTPD server from the same vintage. We will do this on the NextStation as well and turn it into a web server, which will be useful for the Windows 3.11 browser demo in the upcoming IBM P75 episode. Installing the CERN HTTP server is relatively easy, because there are pre-built binaries available for multiple platforms including NextStep 68K, so we only need to copy and decompress the archive. Once done, we give it a try by launching the binary. We now point the browser at the local machine and see what happens. Not much, apparently. The browser tries to connect but gets no response, so we likely have some configuration issue. Unfortunately, the HTTPD program is very quiet and does not print any messages to the console. Time to consult the documentation. Should have done this first. Under the heading First Trying It Out in verbose mode, there is some helpful information on the command line switches to enable verbose mode and to point to a configuration file that is not in the etc. folder. Now, let's quickly adjust some settings in the configuration file. We need to set up the path to where the installation folder is and where the log files should go. Then we start the HTTPD program with the right parameters. Hopefully, it will give us some more hints on what's going wrong. Okay, this looks promising. It says it's accepting connections now on port 8080. Let's check it out from the browser. This is not bad. The browser connects to the HTTPD server, and we can see it processing the request. We're getting a permissions-related error now, so let's check the config file again for what we're missing. Alright, seems all requests are routed to a web folder under /local. Let's create that quickly. We need some content, so let's hack up a really sketchy HTML page to see if it will be found. That worked, but it seems this HTTP server does not support the idea of automatically loading an index.html page. That's fine, but we need more content. I downloaded the first website from info.cern.ch using wget on a modern computer. I'll create an archive file and put it on the network so we can download it to our web server on the Next to recreate a setup similar to that what Sir Berners Lee had back in the day. Hopefully we can then check out his browser. Okay, that was quick. Now let's point the browser to our local copy of the world's very first website and see what happens. Great, this totally worked. Our web server is up and running and serving the very first document on the World Wide Web. We can access it from the first browser and explore its hyperlink structure. Because the concept was new, there are actually many resources linked on what the World Wide Web is, how it's supposed to merge technology of different disciplines, and how it helps connect distributed teams to seamlessly work on shared documents and exchange information. From a philosophical standpoint, free availability of information is emphasized, and that the World Wide Web is a place of co-creation. Maybe this is something we should be mindful of again, with the web being a place mostly used for consumption these days, and tech giants broadening their information monopolies. This browser is clearly geared towards publishing information in an academic environment, as it is focused on text. It does not handle images and elements that more modern browsers support. CSS and JavaScript weren't invented yet. I actually downloaded several more websites from the mid to end 90s to test with this browser. This is how an early copy of Yahoo from 1996 looks like. Although it is light on images, it is a mess because all the CSS is output on screen and mixes with the text. Clearly the web evolved so quickly, even in the mid-90s, that the browser soon was outdated. On the Next, there is the relatively modern OmniWeb browser available. Let's put it through the paces with the copies of websites from 1996 to 1999. I'll show simultaneously how the same code renders in a modern browser. So this is how Yahoo should have looked like. And here's the homepage of Silicon Graphics as of 1997. The overlay on the left side shows how that same page renders in Safari on a Mac. Note that we're accessing our web server on the NextStation from the modern browser too. This was Apple's homepage in 1998. Now let's quickly review the editing features of the World Wide Web browser. It contains a HTML editor to enable users to easily create and link content. I'll try to make a little landing page from which we can navigate the vintage website copies more easily. You start with a template and then use basic HTML tools and styling options to add content. I'm going to add a list with links to the website copies, starting with the world's first web page. Adding a hyperlink brings up a file selection dialog from which the target on the file system can be picked. Okay, that should be fine for now. Let's save and test it. I'll do the rest off camera. I saved the new page as index.html to the root of the document folder. Let me point the browser to the location on our web server and try it out. That works nicely. So this concludes our review of the world's first web browser and the associated web server, CERN HTTPD. In the remaining part of the video, I'll install the HTTPD server as a service so that it starts up with the system and we can use it in a future episode.